Welcome to Spill the Tea, where musicians tell nothing but the truth about gigging life. Joining me today, we have an amazing bassist, everybody. Make some noise for Sam Al Sharawi. Hi.
How you doing? You okay?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. Enjoying the tea. So
it's really good,
really
isn't
nice.
it?
Yeah, really relaxing.
Oh my God.
Just what you need.
Exactly. Early in the morning or late in the evening. When are we filming?
Yeah, I don't know.
We don't know.
No, secret.
So you are doing so many cool things. You are gigging everywhere. You're doing like festivals. You're doing like international gigs. Like, how do you get from I want to learn how to play the bass? Oh, I'm doing cool gigs. Oh wow, I'm playing with a function band. To I'm doing festivals and I'm just like playing internationally.
I guess I think it's just a long story. You can't condense
We have
it.
time.
You can't. A lot of hard work, obviously. I think a lot of trial and error. I went to uni, but I didn't study music. So it was very much like throwing myself into London, getting a full-time job in London, and every night going out. You know, this is when I was already playing, already knew how to play. But every night going out to every jam night, every open mic night, just meeting people, networking. That was kind of like my 20s, my mid-20s, just doing that every night. So much so to the point where I got fired from my job because I was turning up like so disheveled from being out all night.
But there's such a cool story to tell now. You see, it was painful
they were happy,
back then.
Yeah, when they got rid of me. But
wow.
Yeah, so I think that, and then a couple of lucky breaks getting into a band which a keyboard player called Dedi Sissimi was running his own project. Dedi Sissimi is his own music, and he used to play for Fela Kuti, so quite a super famous he started Afrobeat, Fela Kuti. So that was the first kind of original band, professional original band. I was in many bands before that, but this is professional kind of like. But that started the gigs. The Nigerian gigs start like 11, 12 midnight and finish at 4 in the morning. So non-stop playing.
Wow.
You're lucky if you get a toilet break when you're on stage.
Oh my God.
Only if there's another bass player to cover you or something to get up.
That is hard.
That was kind of like the first, that was like, here you go, this is you want to do this is how it's going to be. That's the kind of situation. And then luckily at the same time, I managed to get into a really busy covers band as well. So, but I've always had that passion to do original music, to play for original artists and stuff like that. So,
amazing.
So that was the kind of like turning point. Before that, it was a lot of working 9 to 5s, doing lots of things on the side, trying to get by to make enough money to go out to network or to live in London for that period of time.
Of course.
And then those two bands plus a couple of open mic nights which I got into the house bands for, they opened up the network to all the I used to play at I don't think it's there anymore, but on Portobello Road there used to be a bar called Mau Mau's, and they used to have open mic nights there, as well as I wasn't in the house band for this other thing. I was in the house band for the open mic nights and poetry nights and stuff like that. But there was also something else running there called Jazz Refresh, which is still running. It's like a kind of like a platform for jazz artists and new jazz and stuff like that. But I used to go down there and watch all the artists play and stuff at the same time. So a lot came from Mau Mau Bar, networking down there and the community. And then that was around that, and managed to get a few ins from that as well.
It takes quite a lot of work to do that, to keep on like going to jam night, open mic night, because you want to get to know as many musicians as possible. But that is a lot, especially if you're working.
Yeah.
So it's like you finish the day and you're like, okay, I need to like take myself out. We need to go to that jam, to that open mic tonight, because I know that I can meet people.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's of course very pleasant, you know, you go and listen to music, but it's really hard as well, because, you know, after all you've done, you're working or whatever, and then you're like, okay, no, this needs to be done.
Yeah.
So you force yourself to go.
It wasn't really a question of this needs to be done. It was just like this is what I'm going to do.
That's great. No, that's great.
And then the nights I wasn't going out, I remember either in lunch breaks, which I had because I was doing an office kind of job-ish. The lunch breaks were me practicing.
Right.
I'd managed to find like maybe the server room or like some little cupboard with a bass, practicing there, or the nights I weren't out, I was trying to learn music that I had heard at a jam night or something like that. So
there's devotion, man.
It was just like, I wish I still had that
drive,
that amount of energy to spend. Yeah, I mean, I still have the drive, but now, as you know as well, now it's like you're running different projects where you might need to do some video editing, or you might need to do this or this. I wish it was
just the one thing,
the one focus. And that leads me into the other thing, going to answering your first question as well. It got to the point where later on, me and a few friends started our own jam night and started our own way of getting noticed, bringing people to us. So that's also been a big part of it, I think, is starting your own thing. Much like you've started this podcast, starting something that you can, I mean, obviously starting it for a good reason as well, to help other people, like open it. We did a jam night that was a bit more open and also specializing a bit more in jazz fusion as well. But at the same time, you do it because you also want to put yourself out there and create
absolutely
like a
safe space as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that is the start of how
that's a great story.
Yeah, plus
and
a few other things.
do you think it's so for a musician that can actually make it, you know, like, so you get to do your like big gigs, do you think is it just, or what is the percentage of a lot of work and networking and luck? So do you think every musician that actually like makes it, like, is it just pure hard work? Or sometimes do you think like, do you ever look at someone and you're like, okay, you've been lucky?
I mean, I think we all have those thoughts, but I really come to think about it in my head as, okay, look, you might get lucky with the first few steps or something, or you might have someone in your family that helps you out, but then you've still got to do the work to pull it off, you know, and have that longevity. I think we've all met people who have been lucky or had certain doors open to them, but they go through those doors and then they fail and they just give up and they do something else or whatever. So you've still got to put the work in, and it's a journey, isn't it? So like, even if you have no doors open, you've got to open all the doors for yourself. You know, you know, that might be the hard part of your career, and then you'll have success later on with something that you might get lucky with, or you might have all the luck at the start, and then you'll hit like the wall of like, right, have you actually done the hard work to be able to pull this off? So, you know, I try not to look at it as like, oh, you were given so many lucky opportunities, or you had lucky opportunities, or whatever.
You still need to be able to pull it off. You need
100%.
to be able to like prove yourself constantly that you can do a good job.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so
that's good.
Yeah, that's the way I see it. I don't try not to be like.
That's good.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, you guys keep on practicing and working. So all these working, all these like traveling, and also even just like gigging on the weekends, gigging at night. You know, if you have, you know, you're married, you have a wife. But I was saying, even if you just have a pet at home, because we're very inclusive, you know, like, how do you manage to keep a healthy work-life kind of balance? You know, like, how do you manage to still cherish the relationships, but still keep on doing whatever you need to do? Because sometimes, I don't know if you're touring, sometimes you're away for a long time. So it could be quite hard.
It's super hard. I think like I don't think there's an easy answer to it. I think exercise is a big part of it, not for solely fitness's sake, but for mental health's sake. So that's super important. I think very lucky to have a partner, a wife who's also a musician who understands. So that's been a big...
That plays a big part.
Yeah, big part, definitely. And then something I'm always working on, I'm really bad at the moment still, is just balancing. Like, so giving myself enough time off, a day off, or half a day off, even a half a day off.
To just chill.
Yeah, it's but I think a lot of people living right now are struggling with that anyway.
Yes.
So
especially when you're in London, if you're living in London, don't you feel like I have to take this job?
Yeah.
You know, you're exhausted, but you're like, it's here now.
Yeah.
I need to take it.
I'm continually evaluating, like trying not to overstretch myself, and I am always crossing that boundary. But yeah, I'm always trying to fix that. Trying being a key word.
It's a learning curve for everybody.
Yes, massively. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And what do you think you would be doing if you weren't a musician?
I would probably be in IT, to be honest with you. That was the thing. Yeah, that was the thing.
Okay.
My whole family, my dad was kind of into, and I grew up with computers. The first thing I was doing was repairing computers when I was super young. Like, I remember loading up games in DOS and programming and stuff like that when I was like probably 5, something
what?
like that. Yeah, so 5.
Oh my goodness!
Not anything hardcore, but
no,
just
still?
like Dad.
When I was 5, I was probably like la 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 la.
And then I just remember computers being, because my dad had a computer shop, so
wow.
I remember computers being everywhere all the time.
Crazy.
Always. So yeah, especially when I was 8, for sure. So I remember a point where it was going to be music or something like IT security or something like that. But I've always kept, even when I went to uni, I did kind of music technology and stuff like that. So the tech side's always been
been there.
Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately,
it's also like a little bit of a safety net as well. You know, like I think it's great.
Yeah.
In a way, it's great to know that you're good at something else.
Yeah, it's been handy.
Exactly.
It's totally been handy in terms of like doing click tracks and helping out with sound, or I always get on with like sound engineers and tour managers because I totally understand their world.
Yes.
Or even recording, any of that kind of stuff, mixing.
Because you do a bit of programming as well.
I always keep my hand in programming and stuff like that, especially with what's happening now. We're going completely on different topic now, but we're like with AI and coding and stuff like that. It's at the moment it's really, really interesting. So I always keep a little bit of
absolutely
and stuff like that.
You need to keep up with times.
Yeah, just a little bit, but not. My main focus has always been music. So
amazing. Well, you're doing it very well.
I'm trying.
But like being a freelancer musician as well, do you ever feel like, do you ever have like thoughts about the future, about like how am I, like financially mostly, what am I going to do next month, next year? Like, do you ever feel the struggle, and how do you cope with it? How do you manage?
I think everyone can relate. I think you'll probably relate to this too.
Yes.
When you're a freelancer, in music and creative industry, well, especially music, you develop that fear.
Constant.
And it never really goes away.
Never.
That fear of like, well, next year, January comes around and you're like, am I going to get a lot of bookings this year? Is it going to be a quiet year? Because you have time to unfortunately think about these things, and that's, of course. Yeah, it's never going to. I don't think it's never going to go away, and it's a habit that you build up when you're younger to serve you in terms of like working hard and getting those gigs in and stuff like that. But then it doesn't serve you when you get older, and I've found that now it's becoming a bit more of a hindrance. Like January comes around, January, February, and you're like, oh no, is this year going to be? Are people still going to want to call me, or like you know, for X, Y, and Z? And it's it's a really bad habit to keep carrying around with you. So I'm trying to work on that as well. But yeah, so that worry is always there, always, even when I'm busy, and I'm trying to. I don't think there's a need for now where I am to have that worry, but still. And it's also another thing is on parallel to what you're talking about is that as you get older, you're like, oh no, you know, are certain doors going to close for me for certain gigs because I'm no longer fitting X or Y criteria. So that's another thing as well. But you know, I think you just got to roll with it, right? Like, there's no...
Definitely. I mean, we're in it, you know, but sometimes I feel like, you know, if there's any particular way that kind of helps you to keep that kind of fear in check, you know, for example, I know some people would just, you know, they're like, and I'm probably one of those, like, you know, I kind of set myself some boundaries. I'm like, I don't want to accept gigs that pay me less than this. You know, it's just for your own, let's call it pride, but also it's your worth. You know, if you've been doing this for, you know, 1 year, it's one thing. If you've been doing this for like 20 years and, you know, you think you are worth something, then I think it's really important to set some boundaries. But
defo, yeah.
Then comes that month when you're like, crickets.
Yeah, you can hear the crickets.
So what do you do? Like, what do I do? Shall I accept that gig that pays me less or way less than I told myself I wasn't gonna accept? But like, do I do it just to make sure that I'm at least covered for, like, you know, what if next month I don't get anything? You know, like, that's what I'm thinking. If there's any particular way that you think could, like, help us, community, to kind of manage that fear a bit, what do you think could be done?
I think a lot of people would say the same, is listen to your gut feeling.
Yes.
That's super important. You know, always be polite when you're about to decline a gig or something like that. There's no need to let your ego get in the way. If you're like, oh no, this is, you know, beneath me or whatever like that. And then I think it becomes a bit easier to make those decisions and trust your gut when you have your own projects running as well that you're putting energy in. And I think it's all about time management.
Absolutely.
In the end of the day, even if it's January and you're quiet and you know you've got a to-do list for your own projects that, okay, right now aren't paying you money, but, you know, it's feeding your soul, and B, it's something that might even be a business project that might lead to something else.
Exactly.
You know, it's like manage your time for that week. So if that gig comes in that you're already questioning, it's like, do you still have time? Because you know the projects that you're working on this week in your quiet month will lead to something bigger.
Yeah,
later
that's
on.
A great point.
I think there's no quick right answer. And it's not like I still don't fall into that trap, you know, of taking, you know, it happened to me recently. I took a gig and it turned out to be 3 rehearsals that I didn't know about.
Oh, gosh.
But, you know,
fair enough.
Yeah, it was a lot of hard work for not much money, and maybe I shouldn't have taken it, but it did lead to making some new friends and stuff, and also
great.
some, you know, some nice memories and stuff. So you just I think listen to your gut, and if you do get into a tricky situation, then just either practice good etiquette or following it through, and then just making a mental note later on that maybe that was the boundary that you crossed, and next time you shouldn't cross that boundary.
Lesson learned, you know, all the way through.
So, I don't know. That's about the best advice I can give.
Oh, no, that is an amazing advice. We love it.
Cool.
Listen, what is the first thing that you do when you're back from a gig? Like, you park your car, or you get off the bus or the tube, you get home,
I think I mean, make a cup of tea for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We had this before.
Yeah,
we had this before on the podcast.
Tea is important, and unwinding. Trying not to spend too much time on my phone. Because that, I think when you're tired, I've noticed for me, when I'm tired, especially when you park the car in your car parking space or whatever, and you just get the phone out and you spend like an hour and you're just like, what have I done?
Man.
So
Oh my God, yes.
avoiding that is like, I try and do that, get in, cup of tea. My wife's normally up because she's also like gigging. So we normally have a bit of a chat and a wind down, which is nice.
Oh,
and
that is nice.
Try and get to bed. Yeah, try and get to
Amazing.
bed. Not watch any Netflix or any doom scrolling. Trying not to do that. Not always succeeding, but
nice
trying.
and meditative, relaxing.
Trying.
Good. Sometimes I like to ask something a little bit spicy. Okay. So,
go for it. Sure.
So, because like we play with a lot of people. We meet so many musicians, and sometimes we make friends, and sometimes it's just like, I wish I'll never see you again.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have a blacklist of musicians that you played with and you're like, never again?
Yeah, I think we all probably do.
We do, yes.
I got to admit that blacklist is quite small, which is good.
Great.
Yeah. And there's also, I don't know what you call it, maybe a grey list where there is like, I might take a gig from that person, but I have to mentally manage it in a certain way,
it's almost like a second chance kind of way, or like,
or something like that. Yeah.
I know there are boundaries that he or she can cross.
Other boundaries, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not too many. There's not too many on the blacklist.
Do you think you're on anybody's blacklist?
Probably. Yeah, probably one or two. But hey, I mean,
I definitely am.
I think like you get certain gigs on for everyone, and I think it comes with, after you played so many, being lucky to have played so many different things and stuff like that, you realise, I might not be a match for this.
Absolutely.
Or whatever, which is fine, and
definitely.
and that's fine.
As long as like,
maybe not a blacklist. I'm not on a blacklist. Maybe it's just I'm not on a that's not for you list. That's
better. That's better. Yeah. Absolutely. Sometimes, as I said, like we are really lucky, and we meet incredible musicians that you also get along with. But also, what you said earlier about like politely declining a gig. Can we also say and put it out there, can we also politely accept a gig? Because sometimes, you send a message and you're like, sorry, are you free? Do you want to come and do this gig with me? Sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's not like you don't have to praise me, but it's just like, it's that nice, like the same way you would do. You are grateful. You don't take for granted that somebody's offering you a gig.
Yeah.
So can we just say it's just nice to say thank you?
Especially if you're talking to, I totally agree with you, if you're talking to someone you haven't talked to for a while or something, definitely 100%. There's one little exception, and I'm pretty bad for this, but hopefully people understand.
Are you one of those?
There's a couple of groups that I'm in for a couple of bands that we play regularly together, and then they'll send like an inquiry or are you free for this, and then I'm very like direct and like just quick, like free, not free, not free.
Oh yeah. That's different. I think that's slightly different.
That's where I'm.
Yeah.
And I think, but those people know that I'm pretty just quick to just do a one-word reply or something.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely if it's someone I haven't played with for a while,
something more direct.
Yeah, a bit more formal than 100%. You've got to be nice.
Please.
Yeah. Because
it's
otherwise it sets a bit of a weird tone, especially if it's if you're calling someone that has been say someone recommends a guitarist to me, and I text them and I know they're good and be interested to play with them or whatever, and then they respond like that and I don't know them, then it's like, oh, okay,
minus points already.
How's this going to work out? Like the tone is going to be
totally true. Yeah, absolutely.
But, I think what you're getting to is not really about. A lot of it's 50% is like, yeah, can you play and stuff like that, and the 50% is like, are you a nice person to get on with?
Exactly, and it's all encrypted in there. It's almost like a little test 100%. To see if we're gonna get along well.
It's like a really basic necessity now. It has to be.
Absolutely. Especially if you have if you deal with a lot of musicians, you just want everybody to be in the nice wavelength, and as you said, you don't want to start with a kind of prejudice and say, okay, this guy, we're already starting with the wrong foot, and then you meet him and maybe he's a great guy, but sometimes sometimes they say sure, and then they reply, sorry, I was teaching, I was in a hurry, but thank you so much.
It's fine, yeah, obviously.
Absolutely,
yeah, totally.
absolutely. But you always meet, those kind of musicians that are kind of quite entitled, and they're like, I mean, of course you called me.
I don't think those musicians, they don't tend to last, or if they do, then they're in some very strange circles. But I think if you want longevity in this career, then you have to be nice. But also, following on from that, as the longer you are in doing this full time, the less you see of those people because they fall by the wayside. So it kind of works its way out anyway.
Exactly. Life has funny ways.
Yeah. So it's all good. So.
Awesome. Yeah. Listen, you have these amazing projects at LDN Features.
Yeah, I mean it's not exactly mine. It's a collective.
Yeah,
me and Andy
but you are part of it.
Came up with the idea of it, and then there's a whole band.
Yeah, tell us more about it because I love it. So you invite artists to play their own songs with your in-house musicians.
Yeah. So a long time ago, me and a few other musicians, me, Andy Wilder, Chris, loads of other, so many people now involved in it. We were playing as a session band for quite a few different artists, and then we just came to the point where we were like, okay, why don't we just, especially Andy came up with this idea of why don't we just have a YouTube channel or a video platform where we can actually do that but live and recreate this whole idea of doing something live, no cuts, no edits, no trickery, so when the camera starts,
that's it,
and it's two cameras, Matt and Ben, and they film, and that's it, that's the take. We'll do a few takes obviously, but there is not there's no
it's
cutting,
not edited
there's no
or
cutting
anything
at all. It's almost, we wanted to go back to the way things were done.
Yeah.
Maybe in Motown or stuff like that, where there was a studio band like the Funk Brothers, and you'd have Marvin Gaye or something come down and do a session, and that would get done in kind of one go or something like that. So that's exactly, we wanted to take that. We wanted to kind of combine Tiny Desk NPR with Motown with some other kind of there was something that I used to watch when I was younger called Daryl's House, which is the guy from Hall & Oates. He used to invite, he has his band at his house, and he would invite big artists to come and play their song or something.
They're so cool.
So, it was coming from those ideas, those concepts. So yeah, and it's been running for I think 7 years now.
And can I say it's amazing?
Thanks.
The quality is incredible of the musicians, of the audio, of the videos, of the artists. It's
been a learning curve, and it's
oh my God, so
curve.
well done. It's absolutely amazing. Honestly, I hope it kind of, I'm sure it's very, very popular already, but I hope it blows up because you guys honestly deserve it. Absolutely. Love it. We're going to put the link in the description so everybody can check it.
Thank you so much.
No, it's my pleasure.
Thanks.
Okay, so listen, we are always in a way or another, slaves of agencies or bookers or whatever it is, What is the one thing you would tell to agencies or whoever is in charge to try and make musicians' life better?
That's a hard question. I mean, it's a really hard question because I try and gravitate towards working with people who are on the same wavelength as me or something like that. And if there are bookers, agencies, whatever you want to call it, people you work for who are not on that wavelength, then I try and avoid them. Or if I am going to work with them, then I mentally prepare, like, okay, I need to set extra boundaries, or I need to not get involved in some of the drama that's going to come out of it, you know. So I need to be very careful. Obviously, like, so there's always that first. That's, you know, I think a lot of that comes from my decisions, like where I'm going to work with. But I think obviously, like, just being fair to the musicians, financially, also looking after them, creating a good work environment. My wife runs Halo Strings, so she has her own string ensemble, and they're doing amazing gigs, functions, like they're absolutely smashing it, playing for like massive watch brands and all these things. But like she tries to create a nice working environment and treat the musicians nice. And
but that's the thing,
like
respect.
Yeah, respect
over everything.
Yeah.
You
trying to she always communicating and setting up systems that help give all the musicians all the information they need.
All the hidden details, no hidden charges.
There's no like, by the way, there's
you get
no
there
hotel
and you're like, exactly. You get there and you're like, wait, what?
I think there's that, but you know, I think it goes. But once again, it goes back to and now she gets so many CVs from string players that want to work with her. So I think there's not really much to be said. It's just like gravitate to people you want to work with.
Yeah.
Don't chase people who have a lot of work that are nasty people.
Yes.
And stuff like that. There's just no point.
Keep the vibes up.
Yeah, exactly. You'll always end up in a bad situation. And then
very good advice.
Same with the agencies, like my wife who runs her own. It's basically nearly an agency now. It isn't, but it's becoming that way. Like, she creates such a nice atmosphere where people come to her, and I think if the agencies or the booking people or the people you work with do that, then
also recognize like the musician's worth. Sometimes I feel like some agents book musicians and they don't really know who they are. They don't really know how they play. They're just like, okay, I have you in my book, and then I just book you for this, even if you could have done the other way around. If you just looked a little bit closer to who I am, what I do, treat me a little bit more respectfully, you know, and even fee-wise. And this is my other question. Like, what do you think, for example, because fees haven't really increased that much. We're talking about gigs in London. You know, for example, if you're doing a lot of like London venues, London gigs, even if you know, are playing in very popular venues, you know, we're talking like, I'm not going to say names, even if I could, but, you know, sometimes, you know, people are like, oh my God, you played there? Yeah. And then you're like, not really. You know, so what do you think the fair fee today in 2026 would be for like a London venue?
I don't even know how to answer that.
It's just like the fair fee, you know, what not what you think you should get, not what you're getting. Like, what do you think it's fair? 2026, cost of living, music in London, what could be a fair fee? Let's say, you know, class, I don't know, 340s, 245s, whatever you want to call it nowadays.
It's such a difficult question because it really depends on where you are, if you just started off and not, and it depends who you're working with, if, you know, it's such. I don't know if I can even get into that question.
Let's say, wait. Okay,
because whatever I say, I'll be shot down for.
No. Do you know, this is what happens all the time. Or not all the time, but like 80% of the time.
Let me answer this other thing. Like, you could just go with the MU rate, right, and say that's it. Blah blah blah. You know, but there's whatever you say, there's going to be people not happy or happy with the answer. I think you've really just got to stick to your own stick to your own. There's some people. There's a really lovely core group of people I work with at the moment. I'm so lucky to be working with them. Especially, there's some really wonderful jazz singers I'm playing for at the moment. And they, you know, they look after the musicians and everything like that. And there's not even a question about. I don't even have to ask about the money. Like,
no, that's great. There's like the dream.
No, it's not as in like, oh, sometimes it's paid loads or sometimes it's paid not. It's just about like, great, I want to play with you. And
absolutely.
I don't really care about.
That's a dream situation.
So yeah, and so talking about money is really difficult because it really depends on so many factors. A, who you're playing with. B, is that person really nice or not? Are they one of those nightmare agents? Or like, then the money really is going to be, even if what they offer you is okay, you're still going to be like, oh, such a nightmare because of the amount of stress I have to do with that person. Like, or
absolutely.
You know,
do you know, it's an answer. You know,
it's an answer.
Absolutely.
I don't think like
absolutely.
You could, any number I say, someone's going to be like, that's not good, or that's, oh my god, that's loads, or X, Y, and Z. But it's dependent on so many factors. There's a gig I'm doing this week, which is like a 4-hour drive.
Ouch!
Right? It's a 4-hour drive. It's not paid well, but it's with some amazing people, and it's going to be an amazing experience. And then there's a gig in London as well I'm doing this week, where once again it's okay fee, but it's like hardly, I don't have to bring any equipment, I just
show up,
like similar, like the Neds, kind of similar to that. Show up and I'm just like done, and then go home, and I'm like great, easy, you know, super easy. And then there's a gig at the end of the month that I'm doing. I'm not even, I rarely do this. I'm just put this out there. I'm DJing and helping my wife because I'm DJing with the strings that she's doing.
Nice.
And it's like, I hate DJing, but the amount of money you get for just standing there doing nothing is just insane.
Can we talk about it?
so you know, it's like, yeah, but
yes. Yeah. No, I love your answer. Absolutely. Yeah. You know, sometimes. Also, it depends what you do. Like, some musicians are always doing kind of like the same type of gigs, you know, always residencies or certain venues, so they know average what musicians are getting, you know. But like, yeah, if you do a lot of different things, it's probably a little bit harder.
It's hard, yeah.
To kind of put a price on it.
It's even hard. Like, I know very much what I'm worth as a musician, and I'm happy to stick with my gut feeling for that. It's very hard, for example, when someone asks me on the side, like every now and then I'll code up a website or do a website or some, you know, that I find very hard to price for because I'm not in the game of that anymore, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, how much, you know, I try and do it as an hourly rate or something like that to stick with, like, because once it goes back to that thing I was talking about before, how much time have you got in that week, and, you know, trying to make it,
absolutely,
you need time for your own things as well.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
I take it.
Yeah.
I like, great answer. Oh my gosh, well said.
It's a hard answer.
It's hard sometimes, you know, but not you. I think you got it very well.
Yeah.
So I think our time is up.
Wow, okay, that's quick.
That went so quick. Honestly, you guys, we need to make these episodes like hours because I love it.
Wow.
There's so much to say, you know, like.
Well, thanks so much for having me. It's amazing. It's really, I love this place too. It's so cool. I love the podcast. It's really nice quality.
Thank you so much.
Lovely to be here. So
really appreciate it. No, thank you for coming, for sharing, you know, everything about your gigging life.
Anytime.
I know sometimes, you know, there's like very happy things to share. Sometimes it's a little bit harder. So, but I think it's really fair to kind of share a bit of both.
Yeah, I think it's good too. I think what you're doing is really nice in terms of like getting it out there. And sorry, I couldn't maybe give you the exact answers.
No, honestly,
I tried.
This is why I love it. Everyone's got different opinions, and I love opinions. That's amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much again,
Anytime.
Sam. We're going to put in the descriptions all of your, you know, social media, everything, LDN Features, and so everybody can follow you.
Yeah,
amazing, a pleasure. Everybody, will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.